wanted to do this short video today to update you on an important change to the law that sets out which convictions and cautions no longer show up on standard and enhanced criminal record checks issued by the Disclosure and Barring Service. As a charity, we hear every day from people who find that minor offences that they committed many years ago, often when they were young, still show up on checks when they apply for jobs and voluntary roles. That's why I'm pleased that from today there are two main changes to what are often referred to as the filtering rules. The first change is that childhood cautions will no longer be disclosed. Up until now, thousands of people have found that cautions that they accepted when they were children have still shown up when they've been applying for work or volunteering roles decades later. And this has meant that they've been anchored to their past. This change means that thousands of people will be able to move on from things that they did when they were children. The second change is that the multiple conviction rule has now been abolished. That arbitrary rule had meant that people that received more than one conviction, no matter what the offences were and no matter how long ago they were, had all of their convictions disclosed on standard and enhanced checks. We knew that that rule had meant that people who had been convicted of very minor things from many years ago had all of their convictions disclosed simply because they were convicted of more than one. That rule has now been abolished. And according to the Home Office's own data, those two changes will mean that around 45,000 people every year will no longer have criminal records on their certificates. It's been a long road to get to this point. I was part of an independent panel set up in 2010 to advise the then Home Secretary on this. And in 2013, what were the original filtering rules were brought in. But it was clear at that point that there were problems with the system. And despite lots of work to try to encourage the government to change them, it was clear that they were resistant to that. And that's why we ended up having to support a number of legal cases going through the courts. And let's be clear, it's hard to give the government much credit for making the changes today. All the way through the courts, the government have fought this case, all the way up to the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. And it was at that point that Unlock decided to intervene in the case, the first time we've done anything like that in our history, because we knew how important this case was. And then sadly, it took the government over 18 months to implement the Supreme Court ruling. But we are where we are, and I am genuinely delighted for every single person that now finds they don't have a criminal record on their DBS check. It's difficult to do justice to the struggles, stigma and embarrassment that people can face, and that's why for everyone that benefits from today's changes, I want to thank you for all of the support that you've given Unlock over the years to continue to fight for these changes. In fact, the changes are actually quite simple, but we are still left with a complicated criminal records disclosure regime. And that's why it's really important for everybody affected to find out what these changes will mean for you. We've been updating our guidance for both individuals and employers, and that's been published on our website, unlock.org.uk. And there is still a lot more to do. We are still left with a criminal records regime where thousands of people find themselves shut out of jobs that they are qualified to do. Over a 5-year period, we found that 380,000 checks had childhood convictions disclosed on them. And despite today's changes, many of those people will find that their childhood convictions will be disclosed forever. Through the Fair Checks movement, we continue to call for a root and branch review of the criminal records disclosure system. Everyone should have the opportunity to unleash their potential and make a positive contribution to society. Everyone should have the opportunity for a fresh start.